Hi, it's Dean from Maven BJJ. Still in lockdown, so still training with my mate Steve here. We're going through attacks from mount position. So I've managed to escape his legs and I have got into a dominant position where I've got my weight on him and now I'm able to set up a submission. Last video we went through taking the neck, pushing down into the choke onto the neck for the cross collar choke. Now, in this position, if the arms are still left to the side here, which obviously is not going to be what your opponent or your partners are going to be doing, but we go for the neck because it's the most obvious choice. Now, we will go for what our opponent is giving us. So if I go for the neck, a lot of the times he's not just going to take this. He will bring his arms up to start defending the attack, okay? He brings his arms up to defend. As soon as he's brought his arms up, I then start attacking. I let go of the neck and I choose an arm to attack. Now, this could be a reaction to me going for the choke on the neck. He brings his arms up to defend. I then attack one of his arms. Or we might have got into this position, and if your opponent isn't very used to jiu-jitsu yet, they might be putting their arms up here to sort of defend or keep you away from them, okay? This is a very bad position because this just sets you up for every submission you can think of, okay? A lot of positions, it's very bad to have your arms out straight, and it's also very bad to maybe have one arm out, which is isolating this arm, okay? When we do anything, kind of do it with two arms, just in case if someone grabs this arm's here to protect, okay? Now, what we call that is a very good position for old Jeff here is when he's on his back, if he's not sure what he's doing, is to do the this sort of shell position where you keep your elbows in tight, both arms are there to defend, to hold onto your arm and defend if they start trying to isolate one arm, and you also got your neck protected by this hand, okay? So I like to say this is like a T-Rex position, but the arms are really up. This is a good defensive position, but if my opponent is doing this, is obviously if I get to mount and he immediately goes to this position, his neck's no longer available to me to go for that cross collar choke. So I need to decide what an arm to attack. So if he's giving me the arms first, that's what I'm going to attack. So from this position, this arm, well, they're in an equal position, really. So I'm going to check this arm. Most of the time, there's always going to be maybe one a little bit forward or one that's kind of more easy to attack. But we need to pick an arm. From this arm, I'm going to go what we call 2-on-1. You'll hear your coaches say this all the time. 2-on-1 means you're going to take one of his limbs and you're going to put two of your limbs on them. And what I mean is if he's got that arm, that's one. I'm going to grab him by the wrist, going across the body, grab him by the wrist. And I'm going to grab the forearm, okay? This is 2-on-1. Simple science. It's literally my two arms are stronger than his one arm, okay? And from this position, this is where I start doing my attack, okay? He's in this shell position. He thinks he's safe. I need to get this arm down to the ground, okay? Now, obviously, I can't put his arm to the ground here. That doesn't make sense. I'm trying to get his arm to that little space next to his head. Now, the way I'm going to do this becomes a pushing contest of, okay? It's not going to work, and I'm going to tire myself out, okay? I am on top. I've got the posture. I can use my body to push his arm down, okay? So if his arm's up, all I'm going to do is I'm coming at it from the side. I kind of want to come up and I straight arm and I'm pushing my weight down to pin his arm down, okay? Depending on how strong your opponent is, if you're going in and you're just trying to push his arm, maybe with a bent, your arms are bent, okay? He might have the strength, even if it's 2-on-1, to sort of hold you in position. I mean, there's people at Maven BJJ that I'm pretty sure they could lift me with one arm, and like trying to go for certain moves, it's just not going to work, okay? From this position, I'm not going to work on just my strength of my chest and not just the strength of my arms. I'm going to use my whole body to lean up, push, and use my body mechanics to push down, and I pin his arm down to the ground, okay? Once I pin the arm down to the ground, all I'm going to do is my wrist control. I've got the control on his wrist. The elbow, never straight down, is my elbow is going to come down and is going to push his head out of the way. Now, what this does is it makes him feel uncomfortable because there's an elbow right in his face. But from his point of view, he can see me looking up. As soon as I push down and I'm in this position here, he can't really see what I'm doing. He can feel it, but he's not being able to look at it. And the fact that his head is from here, is now in this angle, it's not very comfortable. And he'll start panicking. He's focusing on maybe how uncomfortable that feels. Now, obviously, in jiu-jitsu, be nice to your training partners. Do not come down and then drop an elbow onto his face, okay? Because that doesn't help anyone, and people won't want to roll with you. Be very respectful of your partners. So, clammed up, I choose an arm to attack. His neck's blocked, so I got to attack his arm. I lean up, straighten armed, and I force his arm down to the ground. The elbow comes in out the way to block his head, and I'm in this position now where I'm looking at his arm to attack. I've got control of his wrist, and I've got control of his forearm. Okay, with control of that wrist, this arm is going to go underneath his elbow, sneak in, and what I'm going to do is grab my own wrist. Okay, so it's like a double wrist lock control, and this is kind of a Kimura position. I pin this down, block the head, dive underneath his elbow, grab my wrist. And just like I was, well, not yet, from this position, what I want to do is I want to bring, because his arm is out to the side, the submission, if you start putting on, it'll put a lock onto his shoulder. Now, if this position, if you've got a opponent with a very tight shoulder, it will hurt and you might get the submission. But from this position, you'll get more success if you try to bring his elbow from this position into your soft ribs, okay? What that does, it puts torque on that shoulder. So when we finish off the submission, it's in a worse position and they'll immediately tap. Some people have some flexibility. If people are doing yoga, if they're actually doing stretches after doing their push-ups, which I know a lot of you ain't, and I know I'm not either. But from this position, some people are flexible enough where this submission, when they are being rotated, they can actually kind of withstand it and sometimes even stretch the way out of it. But as soon as it gets down here, I mean, even like I've not even got a submission on it, it feels tight. Okay, that is very hard for someone to survive out of this. So I pin the arm down, I block the head, I go underneath the elbow, grab the wrist, I've got that double wrist control. I pull his elbow into his side, okay, into his short ribs. Now from here, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be lifting his elbow up in the air. And by doing that, what I'm doing is I'm revving my own wrist as if it was a motorbike. That would literally, so keeping your arm down. This elbow stays to the ground. It doesn't work if I bring my arms up and start trying to rotate. I bring this down, I've gone under, grab my wrist, pull his elbow into his ribs, and then I start revving, which is ultimately bringing his elbow up into the ground, off the ground, into that Americana position. It's called a sort of shoulder lock. Some people call it an Americana. Some people call it, well, chicken wing. There's a lot of different names, and it's very difficult to sometimes keep track of them. But ultimately, in that position, you're really ripping the person's shoulder apart. They have to tap, especially if you're fighting someone who's quite muscular, someone who does quite a lot of training. They'll tend to have tighter shoulders, and this is really effective. So once again, if they are defending with climbing up or the T-Rex arms, the arms are the first thing that you're going to attack. Down, block their head, go underneath the elbow, grab your wrist, pull the elbow into his ribs, start revving and start bringing your elbow up, which will ultimately put torque on that shoulder and he'll tap out. Now, if he hasn't done this and you're going for the first attack, you're pulling the arm, you're coming in, you're going for that neck, he will bring the arm in, start trying to defend himself. As soon as he does this and you feel that you're not going to have success with the choke on his neck, switch over to the arm, pull it down, push it down, elbow comes in, goes underneath the elbow, grabs your own wrist, pulls the elbow into his ribs, starts revving up. And there we've got a two-system attack of attack the neck, attack the arms. There's a lot of other attacks you can do from mount, but as you're learning, and this video is for beginners, you need to have a plan of what you're going to attack. And a lot of time, it really depends on what is available in this position. Do I get his neck? Do I get his arm? Do I get his arm? Okay. If you want to come try a class, or if you want to check out Maven BJJ, come down and train with us. If you're in the Woking Send, Surrey area, always welcoming newbies. If you're an experienced jiu-jitsu guy, come down and roll with us as well. Okay,